Hello everyone and welcome back to the next Buildmas video. I hope you guys have been enjoying them so far. I've been enjoying making them. So today's one, we are back in Wish Blossom Ranch and we are creating my Wishing Alps city kind of village. I wasn't sure where to put this. I kind of debated putting it in multiple different areas of Wishing Alps, to be honest with you. But I actually decided to go with Delverdale because I kind of liked that it was this rectangular shape and I could make kind of a circular village how I wanted to and put like an ice rink in the middle. That was the plan. I did record this quite a while ago now, like 4 or 5 days ago. So just so you know, the house that got changed on update day to be the right size is still small in this video. Just in case you look at it and you're thinking, that house still looks quite small. Obviously they have fixed it and made it the right size, so it is significantly bigger now. So I have had to, you know, chop and change it and put it into the build again in the right size, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. And as you can see, we are starting up here with putting in the core buildings I knew I wanted to use. So we've got Scrooge's store, Remy's restaurant, and then the 2 different house skins that we got from buying the like deluxe bundle edition, and then obviously also a lot of the building pieces that are craftable. And I start going in with those to kind of map out my buildings and kind of get everything planned out for this circular shape. As you can see, I play around with this for a while, and I do actually go and tweak and change some of the buildings after. But after that, I went in with some pathway. I originally was going to go with the new path, but I actually decided the snowy one just fit so much better with the vibe I was going for. I wanted it to feel really like wintry and cozy in here, so I went for that one instead. And then I do end up using the newer pathway for certain little bits later on, but for now I wanted to create a bordered path going all the way around. So we obviously had our pathway, and then as you see as we go forward, we obviously create our ice skating rink in the center. But for now I wanted to get this mapped in and make sure each building had a nice like big space of sidewalk that I could put furniture in when I got to that point. So as you can see at this point, I went in and added some of the larger pieces of the Icy River kit. I tend to only really use these bigger pieces until later on, and I put in some of the new pathway as the kind of underside bit of it to give it kind of a border to feel like that's what people would walk on. And then I added some of the snowy rustic fences that we can craft from this DLC as well to be the border of this. I wanted it to still feel very natural. And I feel like I probably will make some sort of ice skating rink in a different area and make it a lot more Christmassy and kind of feel a lot more upscale. But for this one, I wanted it to feel really rustic, really homey, and kind of go for the small town village vibes that this little town has. As you can see, I went ahead and added some of the craftable lampposts along the side of the ice skating rink, started planning the seating area outside Remy's, and then I worked on my place for my well. I knew obviously this biome had a well in it, so I wanted to make sure that this was easily accessible, but also fit into the design of the biome. I don't like to kind of just shove it anywhere. So I created this little courtyard under this archway where I used some fencing to kind of border it, put the well in the middle, and then I will obviously add furniture and stuff to it later. And then I went into the build and started adding in some of the furniture I wanted to use. I also was debating where to put this fountain and actually decided I felt like it would look really nice in the middle of the rink. Now, at this point, I do play around with these water tiles for a good while, so bear that in mind. It takes me a while to figure it out, but I did want to leave it in so you could kind of see the process of me trying to figure out how I wanted to design it. And I end up kind of doing a bordered look, which I felt worked the best. But for the meantime, I was, as you can see, figuring it out and seeing what would work so that I could include this fountain in the middle, because I felt like it was a really nice kind of sculpture statement piece to have in the middle to go with the theme of the biome. As you can see, once I figured out that middle section, added some foliage to give it a bit more character, I then started adding some seating around the ice skating rink, some flat craftable flower beds, and also some furniture. Now, a lot of the stuff in this build is craftable. Obviously, it is DLC based, so you do need the DLC to kind of, you know, mimic the build because it is based there and all the items are from there. But a lot of it is craftable, whether that's base game craftable, DLC craftable, like the benches are all crafted, the stools, the barrels, the crates, everything like that is pretty easy to get your hands on. There's obviously only a few things in here that are premium shop or harder to get your hands on. So I hope that makes it a bit more accessible for those of you who are newer and maybe have the DLC but don't have any of the others, or, you know, haven't been around for a long time. Now, next to Remy's restaurant, I put this archway because I wanted to create a seating area and I didn't want it to encroach on the space for the pathway, just because it's not a hugely wide open area. And because these buildings are in this circular shape, there is some space around the back of them for things like this, and I kind of like the idea of them being a little bit hidden. So I started putting in some pathway, which I had to play around with for quite a while because annoyingly diagonal pathway still has this massive gap between them. I don't know why that's still a thing, but it is. But I used some of the new pathway and also some lantern lights and some of the new craftable tables to kind of map that in, and I obviously do go in later and tweak and change it because doing the pathway in here was a little bit fiddly because of those big gaps and things like that. So it does take me a while to kind of figure out how I want to do it. Now for foliage in this build, as you can see, I've obviously used a lot of the Wish Blossom Ranch items, so a lot of the green fir trees, the white blossom trees, as well as obviously the bushes that are covered in snow. I also do use a couple of items from other DLCs and the base game, like I use the kind of little blue icy plants that were from Storybook Vale, which work really well, and then obviously some base stuff, as I said. So you can definitely kind of create this using a lot of different things, and I wanted the foliage in here to feel obviously very snowy, very warm, but still have those elements of green in them to go with the green grass that we still had in here, because obviously this biome area is actually really lovely because it has like a bit of grass and a bit of snow. I feel like it works really nicely, so I wanted to kind of make sure I still had that greenery going on and it wasn't just completely ice based. Now, as you can see in our front entranceway, I have added in 2 Touch of Magic rugs, which I kind of made to kind of look like ice. That's the plan. I wanted them to look icy, and obviously I had to figure out a way to kind of block off the edges and cover them. So I use some of the craftable gates to kind of block them off, and then I add some foliage to kind of cover those harsher corners. This can be quite difficult to do with Touch of Magic rugs anyway, because a lot of the foliage and stuff doesn't actually go over rugs, unfortunately. But what I did did work, and obviously I had to do my best to kind of cover as many of those corners as I could to make it look as natural as possible. And then I went in and added in some of the little snowy pebbly pathways to lead out of the edge of the biome. Now for the main entrance, as you can see, as I'm putting in kind of the finishing touches to it, I added in a bench for people to sit on. I used some of the craftable brick walls from Storybook Vale, as well as a craftable bell tower, and added in some hay bales and flower carts to obviously fit in with the small town village vibe, before I added in some of the final trees and pieces of foliage to kind of wrap up this entranceway. Of the final touches of the build, as you can see, I'm adding in the final trees and plants to the back of all the buildings, just to make sure everything felt full, and we had some tall trees that you could see behind some of the taller and shorter buildings, and to make sure it felt really nice and overgrown behind all these kind of village buildings that we had going on. So here's the final build. We're obviously starting in from the biome entrance, where we've got the little archway leading us in and the pebbled pathway to kind of have this nice kind of open whimsical vibe. I added some boats to the pond, as you saw, and I also have all of obviously our seating here and our little clock tower to kind of lead us in. I've also added some blue lampposts behind a lot of the buildings and trees, just to give it a nice wintry glow. And as we head through the archway in, we can obviously see we are into our village courtyard area, where we've got the ice skating rink or the frozen pond in the middle, whichever one you prefer, to kind of just be a nice centerpiece with that frozen statue in the middle. And then all around the edges of the buildings, we've got loads of different items. As I said, a bunch of these are craftable and from different places. And then under this little archway, we've got our first little hidden area where we have our well to obviously get us in and out of the biome. As we head back in, we are going first down this left hand side. Obviously, as I said in here, a lot of these buildings are craftable. There's a couple that were obviously from the deluxe kind of bundle edition, and then the Remy and Scrooge skins come with the DLC, so they match automatically. And then a lot of these are craftable both from blueprint and also just in the crafting table. So a lot of this will be accessible to you. As we head past the Remy and Scrooge restaurant, we will go into this little seating area that I made for Remy. I added a couple little foods to the table. They're nice little wintry warm foods and some lighting, and then obviously we've got the lanterns at the back to keep it nice and lit up and feeling quite romantic. And then as we head down the final side, we've obviously got some kind of snowy wintry items such as the snowmen, the hot chocolate stand, and the little light up reindeer, as well as some stalls with food and things like that in them to really give it a village feel. So here are the shots of the final build. I hope you guys did enjoy. I genuinely really enjoy how this turned out. The only plan I really had for it is I wanted to create some sort of like centerpiece lake or ice skating rink or something like that in the middle, and then have the buildings kind of circular around it. That was the only thing I had in mind, but the rest of it I kind of just went for, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it fits really nicely up here, and it's quite a nice little spot to be able to have my Scrooge and my Remy's so I can go and visit them every day, and obviously get the things I need from there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you're enjoying Buildmas so far. If you are not familiar with me or my channel, I'm doing 12 videos over the Christmas season called the 12 Days of Buildmas, where I create a different build video in Disney Dreamlight Valley every single day. So there is a lot more to come, so if you do want to see those, make sure you like and subscribe so that it will tell you when I post. It helps me out so much. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow for the next one. Bye!